Hey, that's fine too. We can just chat. Yeah. Dude, that's cool because that means I can get drunker if
Okay.
you're not going loud.
Something probably take notes of this because there's a couple topics we need to talk about.
Do it.
Just when disclosure comes around, when the moment comes, are we going live with everyone? Who can we trust? How do we transfer the information? What exactly do?
So my vision of disclosure, I like the library thing, sending it to libraries on a certain day. What I had sort of envisioned is I want to publish the paper on archive.com because you absolutely cannot publish this in a peer-reviewed journal because the peer review committee will laugh you out of there, but they'll send it to all of their friends. Sorry, what?
I say we do everything we possibly can. So
Correct.
we need to reach out. We need to have a group of all of the media vendors that we can possibly control and ask them all to pitch in, give them all the information all at once, and just spam the internet with it.
We need partnerships well ahead of time, period. Like, you can't be calling these people to be like, can I disclose UFOs tomorrow? You have to be like in talks with these people. And so we need to pick, Mark and I have been talking about this already. We need to pick the most credible person we can possibly get who will publish it and talk about it on TV. I was thinking Tucker Carlson needs to be the one.
Tucker Carlson. I'm a big fan of Tucker Carlson. Yeah.
Yeah, no, dude. I started the Institute for one reason. The Institute. I started it as a public-facing persona to disclose anti-gravity technology through, because I told Mark this. If you stick your neck out in public, at least someone notices if your head gets chopped off. If you stick your neck out in private, fuck you. They will bury you. They will burn down your house while you're sleeping in your bed, and it won't even make the news. That's why the Institute exists. So it's a platform of credibility and public-facing persona. So, like, sorry, my laptop's falling. So I need to establish that, like, at least 3 months ahead of time, which is basically now, to be real. 3 months ahead of time is basically today. I need a documentary fucking ASAP. And the reason I need the documentary, fucked up, it's simple and it's fucked up at the same time. We need to tell the story. This dude, this katana wielding dude, made a really big deal about, he was like, okay, listen to me. It's been independently discovered 4 other times. He said it has been suppressed every single fucking time. And he said, I don't think they're going to suppress it this time. He said, I think you're in the clear. He said, they obviously know about you because I've had multiple, both protective and threatening interactions with various agency affiliations, whatever. He was like, if you haven't had a U.S. government agent come to you and say, stop, shut the fuck up, stop, shut the fuck up. If that hasn't happened, they're going to let you do it. They're going to let you do it this time. He said it's been suppressed every other time. This time, they're waiting for someone to publish. They're ready. They're waiting. There are SSP motherfuckers that are fucking twiddling their thumbs. Like, is Amy not going to publish soon? Gah, we've been influencing this bitch forever. Doesn't she know we want her to publish? Jesus. Like, there's multiple people doing that right now. And on the other side of the fence, there's multiple parties looking at each other like, didn't we tell this bitch 3 years ago that we kill people for this? Is she not listening? What is she doing? She's still doing it? What? We told her we were going to kill her 3 years ago. So I have these two different scenarios floating constantly in my life where I have people being like, do it, do it, do it. You're the one, do it. And then I have multiple people being like, they're going to kill you. Don't do it. They're going to kill you. I have like multiple of these whispers in my ears. I can't even describe it. It's crazy. And then I even have the people that are like, this happens too. They're like, they kill people for this, right? And then they're like, because you're a young woman, they're going to rape you before they kill you too. And I have people digging through my panty drawer, breaking into my apartment, digging through my panty drawer so that I notice. Like, I have crazy fucking threats going on right now. It's stressing me out. It's stressing me out, dude. I'm stressed.
Jeremy, we saw it in real life. We went down to the to a Walmart Supercenter, and Amy had in her mind to go get this the nicotine patches. She actually mentioned it to me at the apartment. And
I know they are.
Jeremy, Amy plans on coming down for the Alzaphen experiment. Can you have those cameras on hand to give her physically? I don't know if they're checking the mail. They're definitely.
So I was living in an apartment with my ex-boyfriend for 6 months, right? I moved back home with my parents because of this shit. Because people kept breaking into our apartment, and they would only do it when we were gone together in the same vehicle. Like, he and I would leave in the same vehicle, and then we would come back together. The first time we noticed the break-in, we came home, and there was a micro USB charger plugged into the wall, left there, cut in half with a knife, with the wire exposed on, and like both halves, like half of it is plugged into the wall and half of it is just sitting on the counter, and it's cut in half with a knife. What the fuck? The second time we noticed someone had been in the apartment is really fucking weird, because the night previous, it was like in the summer, and he had opened the bedroom window, the master bedroom window, to let the breeze in because he was hot. And I said, you know what? I'm really cold. Can you please, we were going to bed. I was like, I'm really cold. Can you please close the window? Because I feel the breeze. It's making me cold. And he said, yeah, I'll close it. And he pretended to close it, but he didn't. And the next morning, I noticed the window's still open. Motherfucker lied to me. He said that he closed the window, but he didn't. But at that point, it was hot, so I left it open and I left. He was gone to work. I noticed the window was still open. I go to work. I leave it open. I come back like an hour later and the window is closed. Like, somebody witnessed that interaction, that I asked him to close the window and he didn't. He lied to me. He said he closed it. He didn't. I noticed it was open the next morning. I left without closing it. I came back before he came back. The window was closed. Because somebody was like, I'm going to close this window for this girl. She asked him to close it. He lied. He didn't. I'm going to go close it right now. It wasn't him. He was at work. The third time we noticed someone had broken in, he plugged in a pair of Bluetooth headphones to charge into a micro USB right as we left. We go to the bar. It's like a Sunday afternoon. We go to the bar and we work for a while together in one car. We come back. The headphones are unplugged. They're exactly where we left them. He plugged them in at 36% battery. We left. We come back. They're unplugged. They're at 36% battery, which means someone unplugged them almost immediately after we left. And so I'm like, that's weird. What are they dicking with the headphones for? I walk into our bedroom. And my panty drawer has been dug through, and there are pairs thrown on the floor, so that I will notice that my panty drawer has been dug through. And I'm like, I'm pissed now.
They're not panties that you wore, right?
No, like, they dug through the drawer. Like, every girl has impractical panties that she gets for like bridal showers, birthdays, bachelorette parties. You never wear them. They're in the bottom of your panty drawer. You forget about them. They dug through my panty drawer and they pulled out the impractical ones. They pulled out the impractical ones I never wear, and they threw them on the floor so I would notice. And I was like, I'm fucking pissed now. No, dude, it's fucking real. They have touched my panties. It's fucking real.
No, but they're not doing it because they're not doing it for that reason. They're doing it to fuck with Amy.
No, I can tell you the names of so many NASA scientists that are depressed and they want to kill themselves because they have built prototype after prototype after prototype in Huntsville, Alabama. First in the world, never before seen, worked the first time you turned it on exactly like you thought. And it was canceled and melted down for scrap metal. I
wonder if they have any neutron beam generators there.
I don't know. Bill is lying to me. I can't tell. Bill's a really good liar. I can't tell.
Amy, I'm telling you, it's possible. I think we could do it without Bill, but his knowledge would probably be useful.
I know we can do it without Bill. Bill is like on my team just to like test me and fuck me up, basically.
Look at this. I literally have the power supply right here that you need for a neutron generator. Right next to me.
So Jeremy, I was homeschooled through this group called Covenant Christian Academy. I was in public school in Huntsville through the first grade. We moved out to the country. I was in podunk fucking redneck middle of nowhere county school through the sixth grade. We got bullied out. It was awful. I homeschooled. Jim Ashburn, the inventor of YBCO, was a homeschool dad from my cover group. Sean Bellina MK Ultra motherfucker. His parents were both OBGYNs for MK Ultra, and he was raised on LSD from the age of 6. Was a CCA homeschool dad. Bill Dent, the best friend of Edward Teller, neutron bomb inventor, was a CCA homeschool dad. And like when we moved into our farm here in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, there was Mr. and Mrs. Dent next door, an elderly couple, grandma and grandpa. 25 years later, we meet Bill Dent. Those were his parents. His parents lived next door to us in the middle of fucking nowhere. And he's the inventor of the neutron bomb, the best friend of Ed Teller, and he's assigned to my team randomly. I didn't look for him. He joined my team randomly. Why did he live next door to me 25 years ago? That's weird. Like, all of these people homeschooled through the same group that I graduated from. I can learn a new field in 3 months. Name a field. I don't care what it is. Engineering, science, physics, material science, math, language,
biology,
literature, arts. Name a field. I will be an expert in 3 months.
Amy, genetics.
What?
Genetics.
I don't know. Like, all you need to know is how to learn.
That's right.
The most important skill in the universe.
Genetics is the hardest field.
Yeah. So he did a show for, I think it was the Travel Channel, called Rocket City Rednecks. And it was literally about rocket scientists in Huntsville, Alabama, because, dude, the rocket scientists in Huntsville, Alabama are, in fact, the most advanced rocket scientists in the world. They are, in fact, also huge fucking rednecks. And it's hilarious as fuck. It's hilarious as fuck. And the Travel Channel made a show about this. I think there were 2 seasons. And Travis Traylor was, like, the VIP, like, main character of that show. But, like, I have this other friend, Tim Pickens, and Tim Pickens was he was the head of propulsion for Bigelow Aerospace, advanced research, whatever, Bigelow. And then before that, he was the head of propulsion for Virgin Galactic, Richard Branson, Spaceship One, whatever. But before that, he started at NASA Marshall on Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama. And before that, his father trained under von Braun, and his father came to the Advanced Propulsion Research Lab at NASA Marshall, Huntsville, Alabama, where my dad was technical lead. And he would fucking test spark gaps and shit for rocket ignition. Tim Pickens' dad. So, like, I can give you the intergenerational. There's Paperclip 1.0, that's von Braun and his peers. There's Paperclip 2.0. Those are the scientists trained by von Braun and his peers, aka my dad. There's Paperclip 3.0. That's the millennials that were trained by the people that were trained by von Braun. And that is me. MIT is Spook City. They work with SRI. Oh boy. If someone approaches me from MIT, I'm like, what is your SRI connection? How do you know how? If someone approaches me from MIT, I'm like, but how do you know how? And why are you talking to me? That's MIT is crazy. No, Huntsville's like this weird little time warp of propulsion advancement. We don't do anything else. Huntsville, the stereotype of Huntsville, Alabama is like, your daddy's a rocket scientist. Fuck you, join the club. Your daddy's a rocket scientist. Fuck you, join the club. That's Huntsville. It's like you go to networking events. No, it is. It is. So if you talk to the people in the know, like I talk to, they will tell you that there is an estimated 5,000 foreign nation state agents in Huntsville, Alabama. Would you not suppose that perhaps there's one domestic nation state agent per foreign agent in Huntsville, Alabama? Guess what? The population is only barely it's barely over 100,000, man. There's barely over 100,000 people here. And there are 5,000 foreign nation state agents. They're bartenders. They're oil mechanics. They're medical device salesmen. They work at a restaurant. They work at your doctor's office. Their sole purpose is to go to the bar and sit there and listen to you talk while you're drunk. That's it. Period. There are 5,000 foreign nation state agents here, and all they do is go to the bar and listen to you talk while you're drunk. That's their job. That's their job. They will roofie you. They will threaten you. They will follow you. They will get information out of you one way or another. The ether tells you that. You know what they do with their smartest people? Cancel, cancel, cancel. Dopamine block, dopamine block, dopamine block. They get the ideas from you. They get the design. They get the prototype that works the first time you turn it on. And then they cancel it and they take it a level deeper. Because the fact is, it's a waste of your time. If you're a problem solver, if you solve impossible problems, it's a waste of your time to optimize a problem you've already solved for application. So what they do, you solve the impossible problem, and then they cancel it in the white world. They move it a level deeper. They optimize it for the secret application, and they give you a new problem, and then they cancel it. And then they give you a new problem, and then they cancel it. And a new problem, and they cancel it. And they psychologically abuse you into seeking the dopamine of the satisfaction of reward. And they use you as an idea factory. That's what they do to their smartest people. Because if they reward you with success, you rest on your laurels. I'm so fucking smart, I never have to try again. But if they cancel, you're constantly trying to prove yourself. You're constantly trying to solve the next problem. Because the last problem, you solved it, you didn't get recognition. So the next problem, you're going to solve it again, even faster, even harder to get recognition. They cancel it again. They give you another problem. They give you another problem. You still you keep trying.
Why are you trying? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of dopamine.
No, they psychologically abuse. They psychologically abuse their smartest people. They've done it to
squeeze us. Them. They're squeezing them. That's what they're doing.
They squeeze them. True. Here's a problem. Solve it. Cancel. Disturbing. And like, I would probably have a panic attack if I saw it. But there's like a really super disturbingly huge, shockingly huge pile of intel on me personally that these people are using against me. Like they know more about me than maybe I do. It's really bad. It's really bad. They like know my nicknames, and they know like phrases that are significant to me existentially, and they know my friends. They're lurking in the accounts of like all my friends because they tweet me from my friends' accounts all the time with malware. They're just lurking there, and like, it's bad. You should thoroughly understand the situation before you step into it, because I like dove headfirst into the rabbit hole, and I will admit I did it on purpose. I did. I totally did. I dove into the rabbit hole headfirst 100% on purpose. Did I understand what I was doing? Absolutely not.
Jeremy, I think it's been destined that Amy Eskridge be the one who pulls the final string on anti-gravity. Even
it's
if
hilarious,
I discovered in my lab, even if I discovered in my lab, I think she's the one who needs to do it, just because of her birthright, because of her situation, and because that's what a lot of people already believe. That's why I went on your show a couple of weeks ago and said, I know who it is. There is a fucking anti-gravity messiah, and I know her name. You didn't believe me also.
You should be.
What do you think now?
Here's an example. So like my girlfriends that I've known since I was like 8 years old, like they're 32 now, like I am, right? And so I'm calling them, I'm talking to them, and I'm like, yo, we discovered anti-gravity and it's a real hassle. Like, we discovered anti-gravity and it's like the worst thing that ever happened to us in our entire lives. It's like a fucking curse. It's horrible. Like, we discovered anti-gravity and our lives went to shit, and people started sabotaging us, and it's a harassment, threat. It's awful. And I'm talking to my girlfriends that have known me my entire life, and they're like, hey, I've known you forever. I grew up like visiting your house and slumber partying at your house and like listening to your dad rant, whatever, etc. And they're like, hey, if anti-gravity were to be discovered, it would be in Huntsville. And if someone in Huntsville discovered anti-gravity, it would be your fucking family. It would be your fucking it would be the Eskridges. And my girlfriends that grew up with me are like, I believe you. I have no doubts. They're like, whatever. I grew up in your house. And yes, I believe it. I don't even have to see it because I know you. They're like, yes, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Natural evolution, fact, reality. Yes. They're like, I don't have to see it. I believe you. So like, that's where I'm coming from here. It's obvious to everyone around me, and my family's in like total denial. My family's in total denial. And we're like, so I hired this new cybersecurity company, and it's run by the former CIO of Northrop Grumman. I was referred to him for a reason. And he's like, hey, I've been spending 35 years in counter espionage, specifically for the Navy, specifically for advanced propulsion. And I was the chief information officer for Northrop Grumman. And I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you a series of really crazy ass stories. And can you please reserve judgment until the end? And I told him a bunch of stories about like electronic and physical surveillance and stalking and like weird ass death and sexual threats and shit. And I got to the end and I was like, okay, I'm ready. Tell me I'm crazy. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm insane. Tell me I'm sane. I'm ready for it. Tell me. And this guy was like, I wish I could tell you that you were insane, but you're totally not. He was like, I'm so fucking sorry. He was like trying to let me down gently. And he was like, the stories you've told me, I've heard from other young women in technology positions. And he was like, they do it on purpose. They do like crazy ass shit to you that is unbelievable just so that you feel like you can't tell anyone. And they pose as like agents from their own government.
My trick is that I tell everyone. And
I do too,
everyone, like, protect yourself.
I tell people, but I wait until I have 5 or 6 smoking guns before I open my mouth. But like, this guy was like, I'm so fucking sorry. He was like letting me down gently. He was like, I've heard these stories before from other young women. He was like, there's the DVD Blu-ray Epic War, where it was like uncertain for a while whether DVD or Blu-ray was going to predominate. And it was between like US and China. And he was like, there was this female like technology executive in the US that was affiliated with that. And he was like, she couldn't go to the grocery store with her children without receiving like people following her in a car and like threatening her in the parking lot. And he was like, I've heard half of your stories, and the half of them that I haven't heard, I totally believe. He was like, they do crazy ass shit to you just so that you feel like you can't talk about it. It's really bad because like I love to work at bars by myself. Like my most productive zone is to go to a bar by myself and sit there with my laptop and drink beer with my headphones in and get a shit ton done. I can't do that anymore.
Amy, I got a freaking bar. I got a bar across the street from my lab. Right here.
I stopped that habit because I can't go to a bar by myself in the past 12 months ever without weird ass shit happening. Weird ass shit.
Amy, look, that's right across from my office.
I can't go there. Don't even show it to me. I can't go there.
You can go there. I know the bartender.
That's the safest option. Like I've been roofied multiple times. Like my extended team has been roofied multiple times. Like it's a fucking roofie party over here. It's a roofie party.
Tell them about the guy who offered you 1 or 2.
I can't. Yeah. So I don't go to bars by myself anymore, even though it's my most productive zone. Because in the past 12 months, if I sit down at a bar by myself, some dude will come, like some 50-year-old dude will come and sit next to me and turn to me and say, do you want 1 roofie in your drink or 2? I'm like, okay. And then he'll like drop buzzwords that are relevant to my life. And I'll be like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And then sometimes I just end up like twice now, three times. It's like, I'm really fucking drunk. I shouldn't be this drunk. I didn't drink enough to be this drunk. What's happening? Why am I so messed up? And then all of a sudden the people at the bar around me are like, what do you do for a living? Tell us. Do you work for the government? What do you do? You're sitting there at your laptop. It looks cool. Tell us what you're doing. And I'm like, hey, you didn't ask me that until I suddenly was disoriented. Until I came back from the bathroom, finished my beer, and was disoriented and super fucking more drunk than I should have been. Like, it's crazy. It is. It's like, they do that. No, you just haven't noticed it. Maybe you haven't had it happen then, because surveillance is 50% about collecting the intel. The other 50% is just straight up about intimidating you and making you be scared.
Jeremy, Amy thinks she had boyfriends that were her handlers.
No, for fucking sure. It's sort of rapey after the fact. When you figure it out after the fact, in retrospect, you're like, that was rape. Yeah, like the Freemasons have been sending me boyfriends. It's kind of nuts. Like, I had this 33-degree White Knight of Malta English and Scotch rights, like super double Mason that pursued me and dated me for 6 months. And he's on Mars now. He doesn't exist anymore. Like, he broke up with me and then he was erased from the internet forever. He like doesn't exist anymore. But he's a 33
colony on Mars.
What?
He's on a mining colony on Mars. It's like retarded.
Last time I saw him, he was scared. It was after we broke up. He was scared. And he was like, I'm into some shit that I can't get out of. It was really bad. And now he's erased from the internet and doesn't exist anymore. Like, his Facebook is gone. His LinkedIn hasn't been updated in 2 years. I have a background checking service where I can find phone numbers and addresses for anyone. And he has no phone numbers or addresses for the past 2 years because he disappeared and went to Mars, or he's dead. He got erased. Handler romantic partners, 6 months exactly. They ghost you at 6 months exactly. It never lasts longer than 6 months because they like get attached to you and they make mistakes.
Like protocol, you said, a 6-month protocol.
6 months protocol, because after that, like, they're telling you I love you and shit like that, and they're lying. But after 6 months, they're not lying anymore and they're attached. And then they rotate them out. And the person they rotate in has existed in your life for at least 6 months to 12 months because they line them up like fucking well ahead of time. Like, there's always one, like 6 months breakup. And then there's one that's been in the queue for over 12 months. And then 6 months breakup. And then there's one that's been in the, it's really hard. Like, people walk up to me in public and I'm like, fuck you, go away. Fuck you. I know who you are. It makes it really hard. You can tell a handler from when they shut the fuck up because you talk to them about your crazy ass life. Your life is crazy. I mean, you have a handler, your life is crazy. You're into some shit. And you talk to them because they're your significant other. You talk to them about shit. And they talk back because they're faking. And you can tell they're a handler by when they shut the fuck up about shit they can't talk about. That's how you can tell. When they become silent and they just nod their head like, I can't say anything. No, that's a handler. Also, handlers they'll offer you money that never happens. It's a carrot on a stick. It's a carrot on a stick to engage you in conversation about your technology by offering you money that they had no intent on ever giving you. Yeah. Dan Cooper, the katana-wielding, time-traveling, chess-playing super soldier, I was friends with him for a while, but he was just whatever plant. But he would be like, Amy, just date the handler. It's okay. You have to date someone. He's like, they're usually good in bed. Just date them. And I'm like, Dan, you must not know about like guilty, I'm raping you, erectile dysfunction. They're not good in bed. They're not good in bed. They're guilty and their dicks don't work because they know they're raping you. He's like, just date the handler. It's okay. And I'm like, you can date the handler. I would like to date someone that's real. I've been there, done that. It's really fucked up.
Jeremy, we're basically dating right now. And Yelkin. Yeah.
What? He didn't say anything.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything.
She fucking filed a restraining order and I filed for divorce. It's over.
I was like, I need a partner that's down the rabbit hole because anyone else is going to think I'm just insane. I need someone that's like an insider down the rabbit hole and back, like fucked down the rabbit hole and back insider, because anyone else is like, you should go to the insane asylum.
I've been to the insane asylum too. That's a special entryway at the bottom of the rabbit hole.
Oh, dude, it's so bad.
It's a sharp left at the bottom.
You try to date a normie. Try dating a normie. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Oh man, it's so hard. They just look at you sideways like, I know you're schizophrenic. And you're like, this is my life. This is my life. This is real. And they're like, yeah. I guess she tolerates it, obviously. Yeah, I gave up on the normies because they're like, my mother thinks you're crazy. And it's like, your mother doesn't know about the secret space program. Fuck. It's so bad. Really bad.
You get this, Amy, tell them the story of when they swapped out the license plate.
The license plate story. I found out that I was being physically surveilled by the following method. My ex-boyfriend and I realized that people had been breaking into our apartment while we were gone together in the same vehicle. And so like, I'm in the apartment, I'm about to go to work, and I'm like, why don't you take out the trash and scope out the parking lot and make sure it's okay before I go to work? So he goes out there and he's like, there's this weird fucking Lexus. It's like a silver Lexus. This is a shitty apartment. Like, why is there really nice Lexus in the parking lot? And it has tinted windows that are not street legal. Like, just totally dark, totally black tinted windows that are not possibly street legal. And so he comes back in and we're standing in our bedroom window looking at the Lexus and talking about it. And I say out loud, maybe we should walk over there later and take a picture of the license plate, because the Lexus is across the parking lot from us, but it's backed in, so you can't see the license plate. Within 2 minutes of me saying, hey, we should walk over there later and take a picture of the license plate, we were still standing there at the window looking at it, talking about it. And an Eastern European looking motherfucker with a black beanie, dressed all in black, in his 50s or 60s, walked out of the apartment directly across from ours holding a license plate. And he opened the trunk of the Lexus and he took out some tools and he changed the license plate right in front of our fucking faces. And then he walked back to his apartment and he put the old license plate on the front patio and went inside, left it outside. And it was literally like, come get the license plate. I have more. I have more where this came from. Come get the license plate. And then after that, the Lexus started tailing me. And every time I saw the Lexus, it had a different license plate. It would be like Alabama plates, a different state plate. It would be random dealer plates, none of which were local, just like cardboard temporary dealer plates, none of which were any local dealers. Every time I saw it, it was different plates. It would follow me to the gas station to go get beer. I would go get beer at the gas station and that Lexus follows me. And even my ex called an Uber once. He called an Uber. The Lexus pulled out from the spot across the parking lot from our apartment, drove over to our apartment and said, hey, I'm your Uber here to pick you up. The license matched in the Uber app, but they didn't have an Uber sticker or a Lyft sticker. You can't drive Uber if you don't have an Uber sticker. He pulled out of his spot across from our apartment where he lived and drove over there to pick him up and said, hey, I'm your Uber here to pick you up. They changed the license plate right in front of our face, like 60 seconds after I said, hey, we should go take a picture of that license plate. And they leave it on the patio, like, take it. We have more. I'm scared. I'm tired. I'm real tired. I need to disclose soon, man. I need to publish soon because it's like escalating. It's getting more and more aggressive. Like over the past, this has been going on for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And over the past 12 months, it's been like escalating, like more aggressive, more invasive, digging through my underwear drawer and sexual threats over the past like 3 to 6 months. And now I'm like, fuck, I have to publish. Fuck, I have to publish because like, it's only going to get worse until I publish. There's no way out of this. There's no way out of this fucked up situation until I publish. Yes, I have to publish for like.
Now here's a highlight from Coast to Coast AM on iHeartRadio.
Frank Milburn, you strike up a conversation starting in 2021 with Amy Eskridge, who's a scientist working and living in Huntsville, Alabama, on some interesting ideas and technologies. And now she's dead. Can you give us a sense of how what you describe as systemic harassment started for her, in what forms, what she told you about what was happening in her life?
Yeah, certainly. initially it kind of started like a sort of overt and covert surveillance and harassment. For example, she would go out of town for a conference or something. She'd come back, the door of her vehicle would be open, the battery would be run down. There'd be social engineering attempts in public. She'd go into like a bar to have a drink, and then there'd be like a group of like 2 to 6 people who'd come and bombard her with questions about her work and about her parents, seeming to know everything about her. And then, one of them would pay sort of good cop, bad cop. One of them would be annoying and insult her and troll her. And then another one would come and try and grab her hand and sort of apologize. And this happened on like a number of occasions. And it actually got so worrying because they say, "Oh, do you want to go and talk about it, somewhere else?" She's like, "No way, I'm going with any of you lot right now." She actually started carrying around an Atropine combo pen autojet, which is what in the military you use to counter nerve agent poisoning, because she was worried that somebody was going to try and jab her. And she actually had an experience where somebody like patted her on the back, and she ended up having like a pinprick on her body. And then it got worse. She'd be followed around. She'd have vehicle tampered with. She went once to have a gynecological examination, and she got back in her vehicle, and then in the footwell of the driver's side, she found a box, and it had exactly the same make and type of speculum that had been used on her in the gynecological exam. So, that really freaked her out. And then also as well, friends started being targeted and harassed. An ex-partner of hers, a boyfriend, went out of town, and he ended up getting drugged and roofied. And then she was sent pictures, which I've got, and also emails saying, "Oh, I was talking to your friend. He was very chatty about you." Her boyfriend came back. He couldn't remember anything that had happened. So that was very worrying. Other friends of hers, colleagues, they were kidnapped as well, roofied. And one of them actually, they received head injuries, and it took about a year for them to recover. And they were very, very frightened as a result of that. Another friend of hers and their family, they were poisoned once from eating a takeout. On the takeout bag, it had written like Amy Eskridge. And then another time, that's those same people, they had their vehicle sort of vandalized and all the tires slashed. Amy woke up the next day, hundreds of miles away in Alabama from the other state where this occurred. And there was an upright wheel with the tire in her yard. And the attack on her friend had happened, just the night before. So that was very, very worrying for her. And then it kind of got worse with the directed energy attacks, which I've documented and which I put on social media on X. If anybody wants to check my timeline, they can search for Amy Eskridge, and it details like all the kind of attacks and with photos as well, where she was actually being hit with directed energy weapons. And I've had another scientist as well approach me saying that the same thing happened to them, being followed around, another one, vehicles being tampered with, another one hit with a directed energy weapon. And this is all documented. There's photos, there's videos. There was actually, I've got videos of another witness, another scientist who was actually present with her when she got hit by directed energy weapons. And it took, a massive toll on her health. Burns down her body, gastrointestinal problems for life, Parkinson-type symptoms. When I was speaking to her, she'd kind of be shaking at times. And, she was only 34. And one time she told me as well that the spinal fluid in her spinal, the spinal fluid actually expanded due to all the aggressive directed microwave energy attacks, and actually popped, and she got all this salty liquid going down the back of her throat, which burnt the back of her throat. So those are the types of things that happen to her, and those are the types of things that other scientists have detailed to me as well. The social engineering approaches, being hit with either acoustic or directed energy weapons, brakes being tampered with, overt surveillance where they're being followed around, and it's really obvious. And also as well, Amy, sent me pictures of break-ins at her house. Windows broken, doors jimmied, all those types of things were happening with her. And then again, there was a massive hacking effort against her as well. She ended up at the end, in one of the videos that I've got where she's being attacked with a directed energy weapon, she actually was using a computer because she was working on some stuff for a government agency. So she's working on a computer which doesn't have a Wi-Fi card in it because she didn't want to be hacked that way. And she believed that directed energy weapons were also used to map out what she was actually typing. as a way of trying to find out what she was working on. Those are the types of things that were happening to her, and those are the types of things that have been reported to me by numerous other people.
Looking at some of the messages she shared with you, it sounded like she would sit down to type something related to the technologies and ideas she was working on, and that's when it really hit her. Like they could, whatever the system was, it could tell when she was sitting down to focus on what seemed to be a forbidden topic, and that's when it would blast her.
Yeah, she worked with some very high-powered people, and she said, my ex-CIA weapons guy on my team saw my hands where they were burned really badly a couple of months ago. He saw the window pane in person. He said that he had built things like that, and it was most likely an RF K-band emitter run by 5-car batteries strung together from inside a vehicle. When I asked who would do something like that, his honest answer was, I hate to tell you this, but it's most likely domestic, most likely a contractor who sees your IP, intellectual property, as capable of eating their lunch. That seems like the worst case scenario to me, is what she said.
You know, I've heard these stories about gang stalking. I get emails almost every day from people who describe these horrendous situations, and it never made much sense to me where somebody who's just a retired accountant or store clerk has what they think is 50 or 60 people following them around, invading their house, bugging their TVs. It never made much sense why there'd be so much effort put by so many people into just messing with somebody's head. For her, though, I could see where maybe it would make sense if somebody wanted to drive her crazy or drive her to suicide to prevent her from going further with the kind of research that she was doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she worked with an ex-general as well. Both he and the ex-CIA guy was saying, well, they've got experience with these types of issues, and they said it's someone who's familiar with the technical details of your work. And, they both think it's a private industrial source who has hired contractors to follow you around and harass you, and leaving a trail of breadcrumbs to make you think that it's like some kind of foreign hostile intelligence service. So, I mean, that's very, very worrying. And then another one. The CIA guy again. He said, she was showing him like some of the most recent technical pages in her notebooks, and he looked at what the page. He just said, well, this is definitely why. It makes sense to me. Well worth the budget for the right entity. And then he said, don't let that notebook out of my sight, because it's obviously a decent budget following me around to look for an opportunity to swipe it off the table. So, somebody was after her work. It was either two main objectives. One, to try and get her to desist from doing the work. And two, with these attacks, with the harassment and the attacks, the directed energy weapon attacks, to actually stop her, to debilitate her so that she was unable to do the work.
Jeez. Frank, let's talk about Havana syndrome. For a long time, I would hear these reports. I'm sure you heard the same kind of things. Who was being targeted? Mostly CIA types, agents,
yes.
State Department, people representing the U.S. government who seemed to be hit. The assumption was it must be the Russians using whatever this technology is, some sort of direct energy weapons, DEW, you call them. And until 60 Minutes jumped into it, they've done several reports on it. I think that our government tried to ignore it. Can you tell me what you know about direct energy weapons, Havana syndrome, who has this technology and ability, and who might have used it against her? Contractors could be that, but is it possible there's a government involvement as well?
Yeah, well, that's very interesting. I mean, the Havana syndrome, that's really, it's been going on. You had the Moscow signal in the 1960s and the 70s. This is something that the Russians have been doing for a long, long time. And recently there was a guy arrested in the States who had links to GRU, Soviet military intelligence. And I think the attacks on both American and Canadian diplomats from everywhere from Havana to Kazakhstan and to other areas, it looks to me definitely orchestrated by, an actor like, the Russians and possibly the Chinese, who would have access to this type of technology. And I think it's been fairly well established now. There was a recent congressional hearing where experts were attesting to the fact that this was like a GRU unit that was involved in these attacks on high flyers in the FBI and the Defense Intelligence Agency as well. And then of course the key question is, well, how did they know who were the high flyers and how to target them? Right, so that's the other thing. What I understand from the Havana syndrome, and I talked a lot about this with Dr. Robert McGuire, he actually said in public because he was a kind of like I call him Bob MacGyver.
Yeah.
He was working with the Institute for Defense Analyses for many years. So he was actually advising, the U.S. government on all kinds of, technical countermeasures. He actually said in public that he'd been in Russia in the 90s, in Moscow, and he'd actually seen, like the antennas and the kit that was pointed at the U.S. embassy to direct these acoustic signals, effectively. Because I believe with the Havana syndrome as directed against U.S. government personnel, those have mainly been acoustic energy weapons, high frequency. And also, what another scientist I spoke to said that she was hit with one of those and was actually able to measure it. So that's my understanding of the Havana syndrome.
Some of the notes that she had sent to you and that you shared with me and put online are pretty telling. She writes in one point, giving a CIA agent a headache in a hotel is kind of like, why is it even worth the effort? Why would you expose your capabilities just to do that? But targeting a scientist and giving them a damn seizure every time they sit down to type about a certain topic, now that will impede progress on that topic pretty effectively. She says, my pain definitely is worse when I was working on something interesting. It definitely always worse when I have a deadline to submit a paper. That's intriguing. I mean, how would they know that that's what she's working on and that's a good time to hit her with it?
Well, I mean, it would be, yeah. I think it would be a case of, you do the hacking and they would have identified her, targeted her, and then it would just be a case of just bombard her, with the harassment, with the directed energy weapons, all the rest of it. I mean, there's an interesting declassified paper from the National Security Agency talking about this guy Beck, who was hit with high-powered microwave energy systems. So that's from the DIA. So the 2012 intelligence information indicated that this weapon is designed to bathe the target's living quarters in microwaves, causing numerous physical effects, including a damaged nervous system. So, but they're saying that there's no evidence that such a weapon was associated with a hostile country in the 1990s. But I mean, I think now we're well past that in terms of what's been told to Congress. That definitely there are hostile actors, hostile government actors using these kind of technologies. And the Americans, the Brits, there won't be any, and the Israelis won't be any different. They'll have access to these things as well. I mean, if you look at the campaign that the Israelis have been launching since the kind of 2009, 2010 against Iranian scientists, I mean, they've been doing harassment, bombings, targeted assassinations. It's not something that's unique to, Russia.
But it's not just governments that have this capability. What you're describing is some corporations, some private entities who've got it here and are using it. I would think you'd want to keep that technology under wraps, but contractors, private companies seem to have it if your suspicions about what happened to Amy are true.
Well, I think the technology is too pervasive now, because before, you used to have seat of your SUV, as Amy's CIA guy said, hooked up to 5 car batteries. So, I think we're at the point where even, any sort of any hostile actor, whether it were a terrorist organization, so long as they had, the scientific know-how, then they could probably get their hands on something like that. And certainly, if it were contractors, domestic contractors, which is what I believe, which is who I believe were targeting Amy, and certainly the people, the ex-military intelligence people who were around Amy believed that it was domestic contractors. They certainly have access to technology like that, working for the people that they work for.
Well, she shared this, as you said, with some former agency people. Did they help her? Did they try to figure out who was doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I actually put her in touch with. Somebody from an intelligence agency to try and get it stopped, because given where she was in Huntsville, right? In Huntsville, she said this is kind of normal, that the foreign intelligence agencies, they'll target you in school, they'll identify you in school, in university, and Huntsville, which has all these NASA and military and scientific facilities and private companies, is going to be a prime location for the attentions of a hostile foreign intelligence service. So I think from her perspective, it was really, I'm being targeted. Initially, she thought that it was, Russians. We discussed all this. And then my theory was that we came up with a theory. We said, based on what your ex-CIA weapons guy has said, based on what, the former U.S. Air Force general, who's working with you, is saying, it would be very hard for a foreign intelligence service to have that amount of people on the ground over a period of years without getting noticed by domestic agencies. So I put her in touch with somebody from the intelligence community who got the FBI onto her. She said that the FBI initially were very interested, and then they spoke to her for a few weeks, and then she said they turned around and said to her, sorry, but we don't have jurisdiction in this case. That's what she was told.
Wow. Pretty clearly, whoever was doing it wanted her to know that they were messing with her, making it pretty obvious they'd been in her house or car and were moving things around, leaving things that she couldn't help but notice. Did she ever get a specific warning that said, hey, back off from this or else this continues?
No, not specifically that per se, but I mean, she had these social engineering attempts where people would be, bombarding her with information that they knew about her and asking her about her work. So it became pretty obvious to her that that's what they wanted her to desist from doing.